my Gucci shoes. Hey,
You don't use the whole chicken?
Got a box of honey dust last Christmas.
Morning, Agent Todd.
McGee.
Quiet. You're making me nervous. Now, about there.
Not while you're down there.
What?
However, there is an antidote.
NCIS cast. Then and now, 202616. Tragic losses and shocking secrets revealed. Hello, everyone. Can you still recall Ducky's quiet and deeply thoughtful gaze? Think of Gibbs' iconic head slaps, or how DiNozzo's laughter used to ring out across grim crime scenes stained with blood and sorrow. For over 2 decades, the series has stood as a genuine and legendary television icon, touching many generations of fans. Yet behind those solved files lie the actual private lives of the performers, defined by massive success and some quite unexpected career setbacks, and tragic departures that left the entire audience speechless. So where are they all today? Who is still working before the camera lens, and who has sadly departed forever? David McCallum. He was 70 when he first stepped into the shoes of the wise Donald Ducky Mallard. He perfectly portrayed a gentleman defined by the classic refined principles of traditional British culture, a soul who survived combat, deep mourning, and several unfinished romantic memories, maintaining the inherent grace of a scholar while secretly carrying a profound sense of internal loneliness. While working with the squad, he never approached his medical exams with any clinical indifference, but with genuine empathy. Everyone resting on his table was regarded as a friend, listened to as though their final story still deserved to be told. He evolved into a guiding paternal figure for Gibbs and a reliable fountain of wisdom for McGee, and served as a grounded, comforting anchor whenever Tony used jokes to hide his scars. It was only when fragments of his history were revealed that his colleagues truly understood him, that beneath that rhythmic, soft narrative tone lay a personal history that had genuinely encountered the shadows. David McCallum left us at 90, concluding a magnificent creative legacy that touched many lives, which stretched across over 60 years. Way before this final iconic part defined his career, captured the hearts of younger fans. He had already reached the heights of international stardom via a hit 1960s spy show, earning immense respect for his composed and cool demeanor, an elegant screen presence that very few actors could ever match. Mark Harmon had reached 52 years of age when he first donned the jacket of Leroy Jethro Gibbs. He infused the character with the disciplined posture of a retired United States Marine sniper, a veteran whose years on the battlefield proved that the thin boundary between survival and tragedy and death can pivot entirely on one solitary, lightning-fast choice. Within the stillness of his cellar workshop, amidst the timber vessels he meticulously crafted during the late-night hours, Gibbs harbored a secret heartache: the killing of his beloved spouse and young child, a trauma that toughened his exterior while expanding his ability to feel for others' pain. He wasn't merely solving cases. He hunted for justice with that exact same fierce intensity he displayed when facing the deep shadows within his own soul. His stoic quietude became a trademark, molding a figure that remains unforgettable, an individual who was flawed but steadfast in his devotion to justice. Now, Mark Harmon has reached 75, after slowly pulling back from his lead as the primary star. He transitioned into a high-level position as an executive producer, offering his expertise to steer the show's artistic evolution from the production room. Even though some of his big-screen movies failed to pull in major theater revenues, his small-screen work stayed consistent and earned him immense professional acclaim, with wealth valued at roughly $120 million, which proves both his incredible staying power and his permanent legacy within Hollywood history. Sean Murray was only 26 years old when he accepted the part of Timothy McGee. He played a digital defense expert with the sharp accuracy and concentration of a veteran, expert sniper, capable of tracking online trails just as fast as an agent squeezes a trigger. During the early days, his colleagues frequently poked fun at his timid nature and rookie status, getting street experience. He often faced DiNozzo's signature brand of half-serious teasing. But in those dire moments when networks crashed and important data simply vanished away, or when digital threats lurked behind glowing screens, McGee became the steady pulse of his team, year after year. He grew from a mere techie into a seasoned field agent, prepared to draw his weapon, shield his partners, and stare down death without any second thoughts. Currently, Sean Murray has reached the age of 49. Throughout his time in the spotlight, he has mostly avoided any major drama, following a journey marked by steady perseverance rather than the very quick flash of fame. His estimated total wealth is roughly $25 million in today's market, built over decades through his unwavering commitment to his television acting career. Michael Weatherly was exactly 35 when he first took the iconic role of Anthony DiNozzo. He played a character born into money, yet starved for any real affection, raised under the cold eye of a distant father. That lack of love truly defined his whole character, forcing him to hide all his inner pain behind a mask of jokes and very easy, winning charm. A former street cop before joining the federal team, he possessed very sharp and clever investigative instincts, a deep talent for reading the criminal mind, and a clever interrogation style that worked. Yet beneath that cocky and arrogant shell was a man who secretly wanted real respect and a nod, especially from Gibbs, who was both his tough superior and his quiet surrogate father figure today. In those terrifying life and death moments, his humor vanished, showing the real Tony, a brave and loyal man who would risk everything for his whole team unit. Today, Michael Weatherly has reached the age of 58. After moving on from the part that made him famous, he went on to star in a very successful legal drama television series, showing the world he could lead a major series alone. However, his professional path also met with public scandals and heavy pressure from the daily media, forcing him to look inward and polish his public reputation. Pauley Perrette was just 34 when she began her very long journey as the beloved Abby Shudo. She played a woman whose childhood passion for science led her directly into the deep world of forensics. She believed that every tiny trace has a story that needs to be told. She spoke to Gibbs as her boss with a voice full of respect and love, seeing him as the quiet father figure and protector she always needed. Through the years, Abby survived kidnappings and attacks that left her feeling deeply afraid for her own life. In those trials, her inner strength rose quickly to the surface, proving that a kind heart can be every bit as strong as iron. She was a unique mix of light and shadow, combining clinical logic with a very deep compassion. Thus, every scene she was in felt both soothing and totally irreplaceable. Right now, Pauley Perrette is exactly 57 years old. After walking away from the character that defined her career for so many long years, she worked on several other television shows, but none could match her earlier and massive success. She has also been very open about the hardships she faced in her own workplace, which partially explained her choice to slowly move away from the bright and Hollywood lights. In recent years, she has put her focus on personal art and life away from the cameras. Cote Pablo was a mere 26 when she first took on the role of Ziva David. She played a warrior hardened by war and raised in a truly very brutal world. In that life, survival meant burying her feelings and trusting only in her elite skills. She is still remembered as one of the most beloved and iconic characters in the series' history. Once she entered the squad room, she brought a lifestyle of intense and unblinking alertness. Her baggage included shattered trust and a messy past involving a very dominant father. Ziva didn't just rely on muscle. She possessed a backbone made of pure, unyielding steel. She was always ready to risk everything to ensure her colleagues made it home safely. She'd even shoulder the weight of being called a turncoat or a liar if it meant keeping the work family she loved safe and sound. Those chapters revealing her origins, her grief, and her unstoppable drive were truly unforgettable for all of us. Her unspoken goodbyes and sudden departures frequently left the entire audience gasping for air. She came to personify a unique and very modern brand of inner power and grit. On the outside, she was cool and closed off. Yet inside, beat a heart that loved and hurt intensely. Nowadays, Cote de Pablo is 47. Since walking away from the life-changing role that brought her massive international recognition, she has focused on hand-picked roles while putting a lot more energy into producing work. Though her path saw some lulls and a couple of projects that didn't quite set the world on fire, the legendary figure she built on screen remains a permanent and powerful and deeply haunting footprint on the history of television dramas. Next, Brian Dietzen. He was merely 27 when he first stepped into the quirky world of Jimmy Palmer. He played a green medical helper who felt slightly out of place next to Ducky's graceful, old-school poise. Jimmy was a mile-a-minute talker with frantic energy, always sporting the very eager look of a student who was truly starving for wisdom. But honestly, it was his genuine heart and rock-solid devotion that truly made him special. This steady growth allowed him to mature piece by piece, eventually turning the nervous autopsy helper into the only man worthy of carrying on Ducky's massive, legendary flame. He understood that the people on his table were never just cold pieces of criminal evidence, but human life stories that deserved to be handled with the highest honor. When real-life tragedies and the sting of personal grief hit his own home, it dragged Jimmy into dark valleys, making him face his fragility and find a deeper kind of strength. Today, Brian Dietzen is 49 and remains fully committed to the art of storytelling. He has even started writing scripts for the series, a huge milestone in his creative evolution. He is now mastering the craft both behind the lens and in front of the spotlight. Years ago, he cut his teeth on theater stages and appeared in several independent movie roles. But it was this iconic, long-term gig that finally gave him a permanent professional foundation, along with career security and a highly respected name in the television business. Then there is Rocky Carroll, who was 45 when he took charge as Leon Vance. He portrayed a veteran agent whose character was forged by secret missions and lethal choices. He knew that leading isn't just about signing off on forms or shuffling various papers around. It's about owning every single mistake made by the officers under his command. The vibe between him and Gibbs was frequently as tense as a high-tension power line. They were two massive personalities with totally conflicting ideas on how to get things done. In time, a mutual respect took root, grown from shared actions rather than just simple talk, earned by standing side by side during the country's most desperate and dangerous hours. When disaster struck his own house, that cool director mask fell to reveal a raw man. We saw a husband and father who was totally broken by a sudden, devastating loss. Those scenes added real layers, showing a powerhouse of a man who still felt every blow. He was tough but breakable. Nowadays, Rocky Carroll is 63 and still keeps a very busy schedule, acting on screen while also calling the shots as a director for various television episodes. His career has stayed remarkably steady and almost entirely clear of any public drama. He was a man of steady grit, valuing the grind over the hollow glitter of fame. Wilmer Valderrama had reached 36 when he first stepped into the boots of Nick Torres. He played a deep-cover spy who lived for years behind a wall of manufactured names. He sank so deep into the criminal muck that the line between truth and his mask often vanished from his own mind, hardened by years in the shadows. He trusted his raw gut more than any handbook. After finally joining the crew, he had to rediscover how to work with a team and open his heart, to let others lean on him, clashing with old ghosts and risking his neck to save his partners showed a man both rock-hard and deeply human. With every file, he slowly found his true self again. He wasn't just a ghost of stolen lives anymore, but a soul making the choice to walk back into the sunlight. Now, Wilmer Valderrama is 46 years old and still makes waves in the acting world. long before he took on this rugged, battle-scarred role. He was famous for that hit comedy show back in the early 2000s. That character was built on nothing but pure, boyish wit and charm. His shift into a complex, hardened federal agent showed how much he had truly grown. Emily Wickersham was only 29 when she first took on the mantle of Ellie Bishop. She played a brilliant analyst who could see patterns where everyone else saw a mess. She caught trouble before it sparked. Moving from a desk to the front lines forced her to face flying lead and heavy, life or death choices. It was a world away from the calm safety of a glowing computer monitor. Her early spark slowly turned into a quiet toughness, especially after the world hurt her. Grueling jobs and heavy losses really put her faith in her team to the test. The bond she had with the crew was built on a deep, silent kind of respect. She never felt the need to talk much to prove she was the best. When she finally chose to leave for a life hidden even deeper in the shadows, the void she left behind wasn't filled with loud drama or big scenes, but with the quiet exit of a woman who grew stronger with every case. She walked away on her own terms, ready for the next unknown chapter. These days, Emily Wickersham has reached the age of 42. Since moving on from the role that made her a household name, she has spent her days focusing on her family and her own private world. She still takes a few chosen roles, keeping her career on a steady path. She's built a name for being a thoughtful actress who stays out of the gossip. She picks balance over the spotlight. Diona Reasonover was 26 when she became Kasie Hines, a lab expert who lived for the hard science. She was a true scholar, believing every tiny fiber held a secret answer, if you just had the heart to listen. Unlike the wild spark who came before, Kasie brought a softer soul to the lab. Yet she was just as driven. She felt the weight of comparison and worked hard to prove her own talent. Instead of just being a character, she proved herself with absolute, perfect accuracy, case by case. She showed she could keep her head while things got dangerous, even when the lab itself was under fire. She never lost her focus. In those quiet times, staring at evidence with total, silent intensity, the data turned into a story that only she could tell. That discovery eventually became the soul of justice. Currently, Diona Reasonover is 34 and keeps very active within the whole modern creative performing arts community. Prior to this role, she appeared in sitcoms and theater, building a very rich and diverse career history. Ever since turning into a familiar television face, she has accepted several new creative jobs. She moved into scriptwriting, further widening her artistic journey right behind the camera lens. Her total devotion to her craft has truly turned her into a leader within the industry. Katrina Law had reached 36 years of age when she first became Agent Jessica Knight. She played an officer whose character was built during her time in a dangerous response team. In that squad, rapid split-second choices often meant the difference between saving a life or losing the missions. Those old memories left her with a sharp gaze and an alertness that never fully went away. Once she joined the squad, Knight brought a fresh sense of balance to the team. She was tough without being distant, remaining blunt while showing much compassion. She embodied a new wave of officers who show their worth through their real-life deeds. They prove their value not by acting tough, but through skill, honesty, and kind souls. In those fast action scenes, she was usually the first person to run toward the danger. During those quiet times, she showed a heart that felt fear. Yet, she never ever once truly retreated. Currently, Katrina Law is 41 and keeps working hard in the world of modern television. Before this casting, she had already made her mark in several shows centered on intense action. She created a solid name for herself as a talented and believable actor on screen. Her career path has stayed steady and professional over all of these years. Even if every project was not a big hit, she always stayed devoted to work. Her career shows a journey defined by being very steady rather than flashy. Gary Cole was 65 when he took over the lead role of the character Alden Parker. He played a veteran former investigator who brought decades of experience to the job. His history was full of confusion and even doubt before the truth finally came to light. Taking charge meant living in the shadow of a legend and slowly building up new trust. Parker never tried to copy anyone else. He just chose to lead using his very own style. Instead, he led by listening and making sure everyone had the space to use their best skills. During tough cases, he stayed very calm and kept his mind on the work. It seemed as if he had already pictured every single possible problem and planned how to fix them. Under his easygoing ways was a sharp and strategic mind noticing details. He knew exactly when to be kind and when to be tough with all his team members. At 70 years old, Gary Cole still works very hard across both the modern film and television worlds. Long before this job, he had already made a name for himself in many different shows. He showed great skill in playing serious and funny characters on screen. His career has been defined by staying power, high class, and no public drama. He has won respect from both the fans and his fellow acting peers. His work continues to set a very high bar for other performers in the industry. Maria Bello was 50 years old when she took on the persona of Jacqueline Jack Sloane. She played a woman deeply affected by the hard truths of service and her past emotional pain. Her character carried the burden of many sleepless nights and dark memories of being held captive. Because she had been a survivor herself, she held a rare gift for helping others. She reached people through kindness instead of using harsh words or strength. While working with Gibbs, a quiet bond grew between the two of them, two souls marked by great sadness, each holding on to places in their hearts that could never be fully filled. Sloane went beyond mere profiling. She pushed agents to grapple with raw feelings they hid now, sparking those tough talks about carrying heavy guilt, finding peace, and the long road toward recovery. But whenever her history came knocking to disrupt her world, we saw the fragility hidden behind that steady, composed facade she wore. Now, Maria Bello is 59 and remains deeply involved in the world of creative arts. Long before and after this specific part, she carved out an impressive cinema path, taking center stage in various intense dramas and very high-octane action film projects. Though some projects didn't break the bank, she remains a true powerhouse, admired for the sincere weight and the pure, honest soul she pours into every single character. We truly appreciate you taking a walk with us down this beautiful lane of nostalgia. Through these iconic moments, if these scenes ever pulled at your heartstrings in a deep way, please drop a note below and let us know what those memories mean now. Your kindness and personal stories drive us to uncover what lies hidden far away now, those bright lights, where the golden memories never really fade.